Hey everyone, and welcome to this Forge College Explainer. Today we are taking everything we've been unpacking in the Ethereum fundamentals track about transaction formats and security, and we're synthesizing it into some seriously actionable, decision-ready insights. Our main focus for this session? The massive, and I mean massive, implications for account interactions.
Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. You're probably sitting there going, wait a minute, didn't we literally just wrap up our local deployment workflow with the Solana CLI? And yeah, I hear you. Talk about absolute whiplash, right? Just yesterday, we were zooming around, deploying smart contracts at absolute lightning speed. And today? Well, today we are pulling the emergency brake. We're going way back to the foundational, philosophical differences between Ethereum and Bitcoin. But trust me on this. This little gear shift is absolutely crucial if you want to build Web3 systems that don't just work, but are actually resilient.
Because to really engineer bulletproof applications, you need to deeply, fundamentally understand the architectural bedrock beneath your feet. So let's establish our rule of two. The entire blockchain landscape essentially operates on two fiercely competing architectural blueprints for handling transaction states. We have the UTXO model on one side versus the account model on the other. And I really want to stress this point. These are not just minor syntax tweaks. No way. They are fundamentally different worldviews that will radically change exactly how your code behaves out in the wild.
Okay, let's kick things off with the UTXO model, which stands for unspent transaction output. Honestly, the easiest way to think about this is like physical tokens sitting on a factory conveyor belt. When you create a transaction, you essentially reach out, grab a very specific, distinct token right off that belt, hand it off, and it gets consumed exactly once. Boom. It's a super explicit, one-and-done handoff, and the cryptographic witness bundle is right there to prove that exact consumption happened.
Now let's completely flip the script and look at the account model because it takes a totally different approach. Instead of physical tokens moving down an assembly line, imagine a shared ledger. It's kind of like a single page in a bank's record book. In this model, multiple smart contracts might be trying to propose edits to this exact same shared entry at the exact same time. So to prevent total chaos from breaking out, the network uses a strict sequential ordering number, which we call the nonce, to decide exactly whose edit gets to be applied first.
So where the underlying theory smacks into engineering reality is in the critical trade-offs between these two blueprints. We really need to look at four vital dimensions here: concurrency, pending visibility, rollback, and composability. With UTXO, concurrency is handled through input-level exclusivity, meaning you literally cannot spend the exact same input twice. It's impossible. But with the account model, concurrency relies entirely on that per-account nonce we just talked about. If two transactions try to use the same nonce, it creates a race condition, and guess what? Your application code actually has to manage that mess.
All right, here is a golden rule I want you to absolutely burn into your brain right now. Pending visibility is not uniform. Just let that sink in for a second. When your app pops up a message telling a user their transaction is pending, the actual reality of what that means changes completely depending on your underlying model. On a UTXO chain, you can accurately estimate what the future state is going to look like just by reading the input sitting in the mempool. But in the account model, nope. The state remains completely 100% unaffected until the exact moment that transaction is actually included in a finalized block.
Which naturally brings us to probably the most practical question for any developer building in Web3. How does a transaction actually move from its initial creation all the way to a stable, finalized state? It's time we transition from all these cool theoretical concepts into the practical, nitty-gritty engineering assembly line. Let's look at how this lifecycle actually plays out in the real world.
We can essentially map out the entire life cycle of a single interaction into four distinct stages. We've got creation, then the mempool, followed by inclusion, and finally deep confirmation. And here's the kicker. Because of those foundational model differences we just established, every single one of these stages forces you to write entirely different handling code, depending entirely on whether you are building for a UTXO chain or an account-based chain.
Let's actually zoom in on stages 1 and 2 for a second. Right at creation, you absolutely must verify your local assumptions before broadcasting anything to the network. Ask yourself, do the UTXO inputs you want to spend actually still exist? Is your account nonce truly the next sequential value? Then, as we move into stage 2, the mempool, well, this is basically the Wild West. You have to concurrently monitor both the pending mempool entries and the authoritative on-chain state. If you don't, competing transactions are going to cause your app to fail silently. You really need an automated system in place to immediately flag these conflicts before they come back to bite you. Then bam, we hit stage 3, inclusion. And this is where the two models completely diverge. For UTXO, inclusion means atomic input consumption. It's spent. For the account model, it means an applied state delta. When your transaction is finally included in a block, you have to update your local app caches so the user actually sees their balance change on screen. However, and this is super critical, you must treat these immediate updates as purely provisional.
Now, why provisional? Well, 2 words: blockchain reorgs. A reorganization happens when a blockchain network suddenly discards a previously accepted block in favor of a longer competing chain. This right here is the exact moment where our pristine, beautiful architectural theory slams headfirst into the chaotic, messy reality of decentralized networks.
And when a reorg actually hits, oh boy, these models break in totally different ways. On a UTXO chain, suddenly consumed outputs can just magically reappear in your wallet like they were never spent. On an account chain, the state violently reverts back to a prior nonce sequence, which can create super annoying gaps or duplicate nonces if you try to resubmit. If you are just blindly using generic Web 2-style retry logic here, your application is going to fail spectacularly. You absolutely need model-specific compensating actions.
Okay, let's synthesize all this chaos into a clean, actionable blueprint. Number 1, verify your preconditions at creation. Number 2, concurrently monitor the mempool like a hawk. Number 3, always treat early confirmations as highly provisional. And number 4, run post-confirmation reconciliation just to ensure reality actually matches your database. Honestly, this checklist is your ultimate guide to handling timing, visibility, and retries effectively, regardless of the chain you're on.
So, bringing it all together, the core principle we just keep coming back to is this: model semantics dictate conflict detection. The UTXO model naturally pushes exclusivity all the way down to the individual inputs, whereas the account model centralizes the entire ordering process. That one simple truth radically changes how you design your APIs, how you batch your interactions, and how you manage your state.
But hey, remember, this isn't just about back-end wizardry, right? This directly dictates your front-end user experience too. You have to design very explicit operation-pending UX states. Your app's interface has to clearly communicate to the user whether an action is currently reversible based on the underlying chain's specific model. Trust me, clear communication right here is the fundamental difference between having a happy user and dealing with an absolute avalanche of angry customer support tickets asking where their money went.
To wrap things up, I'm going to leave you with this one final provocative thought to chew on. If you build an interaction without deeply knowing the underlying model, what spectacular failure modes are you blindly inviting into your application? Just let that marinate for a bit as we set up for our next module, where we are going to dive deep into the account lifecycle. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this Forge College Explainer. I really hope this was helpful and gave you some aha moments. To keep learning and to check out way more amazing Web3 resources, please go visit forge.college. Keep building, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next one.